Warning: the following audio may contain coarse language and other materials that may not be suitable for a younger audience. The opinions expressed in this audio are solely those of the speakers involved. These conversations may contain spoilers for current media such as games, comics, movies, television shows, and more. Chronic Geeks makes no claim to ownership of the various media discussed, simply the opinions expressed. Listener discretion is advised.
Go. What's up? What's up? What's up?
What up?
How's everybody doing this evening?
We're chilling. All right.
Man is back there doing some actual artistry.
You working?
Like ain't live. Like you ain't getting this on other streams. You only getting this here. This is that piping hot content we've been telling y'all about. Fresh and live from the source. But, as always, we are Grown A Geeks. This is Weigh In Wednesday. You are awesome for being here. It is 4th Wednesday. This is our normal music special, so we're
I'm shaking my head at you.
Gonna jump into some music content, but we're also gonna talk some other things, some stuff that we missed out on last week. Joining me tonight, we have David, Heroic Hat on everything. So
hey yo, what's
everywhere up? At Heroic Hat. We got JPNT17, Jeffrey, doing his art thing in the back. He is.
Can I hear me?
Yep, that buzzes back a little bit.
A little bit of buzz, but might be okay.
Yeah,
we'll have to talk to Dre about that, see what he got going on. I think it's Apple now, right? We got to talk to Apple.
Yeah, I think it's because I'm on Bluetooth and they're not plugged directly in like I usually do.
Could be.
It'll be fine. If it becomes an issue, somebody can let us know in the comments. If anybody wants to tell us it's an issue, because I hear a little hum, but it's all good. You're here. So, first things first. Last week we spoke, and I put it in the conversation. David, you had an opportunity recently to participate in an indie game fighting tournament.
It wasn't a tournament actually. It was just a fighting game fest. It was more showcasing indie fighting games, which it was really cool. It was really cool. I got my hands on some nice games. A couple of them not so nice, but everything's all in the works. It's all indie. It's usually like 1 or 2 man teams doing all that stuff. But it was fun. It was good to get out of the AAA market every once in a while and see some of these guys, see what they can do. I know Jeff might like one of the games that I showcased. It's called 5 Force Fighters. It's basically Blackity Black, the fighting game. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's super solid. Like there's a whole lot going on mechanically in that game. It's sick. I can't wait for that game to actually come out.
And that one was what was that one called?
5 Force Fighters.
5 Force Fighters.
Yes.
Okay. Have to look into that, see what that's about.
Yeah. It's it's basically a 2D fighting game, but instead of like just straight up punching people and making their health to go down, you have like 3 different meters to manage. One is like a force meter, one's like your meter. The force meter is what you want to focus on because the force meter is what does your damage. But there's a lot of crazy combos, a lot of broken stuff in there, really. But they're working on it. I don't know when that game's coming out, but it's looking sick so far.
Well, we got a little bit of a clip here that I can pull up.
Yeah. There you go.
Highlight a little something there. Like these character designs.
Yeah.
I like the graphic art style.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Blam.
It's so sick.
It's about style. It's not about winning.
Yes.
Okay. But I see some actual like power attacks right there.
Yep.
Now, I definitely feel like that character was inspired by Huey from the Boondocks.
Definitely. Definitely.
Now, if they don't have a Riley character, I'm gonna be a little upset.
I think Pebbles is the Riley character.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one appears to be the fighter showcase here, and this is a little clip. What else we got? Okay.
Yeah, man. So the build that I played only had Coco and Pebbles, but
Coco Pebbles.
Yeah. But I did when I was at DreamHack. I did play another build that had Strelchi and the other one, the one that just had hands, and all the characters are really like they're mechanically unique in a way that doesn't feel like it's forced. It feels like they are actually different characters, and it's great. It's great. Everything's solid. I did break the game. I broke the game a couple of times, just a couple of times, but everything's in early alpha. It's still being worked on. We're still waiting for the game to come out. But as soon as that game comes out, this will be a force to be reckoned with.
We'll have to check that one out. That one actually seems got my attention, and it looks like it's in Kickstarter mode right now. So there's still time probably to hop in, do the Kickstarter. That was just a launch trailer.
Yeah.
So what were some of the other games that they had there?
So let me look at the games that I actually was playing. So what I had was aside from Five Force Fighters, there was Combo Babies, Stardust Valkyries, the Black Hearts, and Evoker. And there was one that I couldn't play for some reason. Like the download it was corrupted, and no matter how many times I tried to re-download it, just the source file wasn't working, so I couldn't do anything about that, unfortunately. The Black Heart is horror inspired, so you got characters that look like one's looks like Scream, one's like a Spider Woman, one's like a tree man. It's a lot of horror inspired stuff, and I think the thing that I liked about the Black Heart was that it was really easily accessible. Like there are universal combos in it. All the characters still have their unique abilities, but it's easy because all of the characters have the same inputs for their moves.
That was it. Now, this one, Blackheart.
The Blackheart,
the Blackheart. Okay.
Yeah.
And so is this one are all of these games? I know these are indie games. Are all of them in the early stages? Are they like some beta, some alpha, or some of them out?
Some are beta, some alpha, some are out.
Okay.
Like the Blackheart is out. You can buy the Blackheart right now. I think it's like $5. Like, and that's the other thing about like some of these a lot of these games, they are dirt cheap. So if you wanted to get into a really good fighting game and support some indie developers, you definitely can pick up an indie fighting game. You can pick up Blackheart, you can pick up Combo Babies. Evoker's still being worked on. I probably wouldn't recommend that one, at least not right now. It still needs a lot of work. That game is horribly unbalanced.
You said that was Combo Babies.
No, Combo Babies is cool.
Okay.
Evoker is horribly unbalanced. Like it is just I don't want to say it's the worst because again, it's still like it's being worked on. There's still a lot of tweaking that needs to be done, but it's very evident that there's a lot of tweaking that needs to be done. What else? What else did I play? Oh, I did play Duelist of Eden. And that was a different kind of fighting game, especially if you are a fan of Mega Man Battle Network. It's basically Mega Man Battle Network.
That's Duelist of Eden.
Duelist of Eden, yeah. It's just Mega Man Battle Network, but that's not a bad thing because it is different. It's not a 3D or 2D fighter. It's like a 4x, like each player has like a 4x3 grid that they can play off of, and you have different abilities that you can use and like a deck that you can kind of pull from. And you're basically just trying to outmaneuver the other person and get more spells off than they can. It's super sick. And this is actually a sequel to One Step from Eden, which is basically Mega Man Battle Network, but this is more PvP oriented versus One Step from Eden, which is mostly PvE and with boss battles. And the boss battles are basically this.
Okay.
So yeah, this one I was kind of caught off guard because like I love One Step from Eden, and I did not know that there was a sequel in the works. So I am definitely going to pick this up because I love me some Mega Man Battle Network.
This looks like a complex version, almost like chess meets tic-tac-toe meets a fighting game.
Yeah, this is very much 5D chess. this is 5D chess.
So I'm like, you put an attack in the, A4 square. Right.
Yeah,
like you put an attack in the A4 square, and if they happen to be standing on their B5 square, it has, an area of effect damage and can get them from wherever they are.
So it's not even just like using the spells, because spells have different like areas of effect. Like you can like use that sword ability that you saw at the end there.
Mm-hmm.
That will always hit like 4 squares away from you. So you have to be able to space that and predict that your opponent is going to fall 4 squares ahead of you, like in that specific spot. Then you have like stuff that are just like you throw out a spell and it's just like a cascade of waves that they'll have to try to avoid. There's a lot of spells and nuance that goes on in One Step from Eden, and even more so in Duelist from Eden. I can't wait. I want to play more, and I can't because as soon as the weekend was over, the demo was cut off. So yeah, so I have to wait like everybody else.
Okay.
But it did definitely scratch that Mega Man Battle Network itch until I could buy the Legacy Collection like the very next day. But yeah, definitely scratched that itch for me.
All right, cool. So you got an opportunity to play a variety of fighting games.
Oh yeah.
All of these are indie developers,
and
this was more or less a showcase of those games. Now, were you able to get access to this through DreamHack?
No, I reached out. So like there was a tweet that was making the rounds. Like the guy that was running it was just looking for content creators to showcase some stuff. I responded to the tweet, and then a friend of mine put a good word in for me, so that kind of got me in. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
And is there footage that we could view?
There is footage. I have to break it up, but I think it should still be available on Twitch on my channel.
Okay.
If not, then it will be available soon.
Okay. Good deal. All right. Well, that actually sounds pretty cool, man. Fighting games. I know fighting games is your thing, of like all the different gaming genres out there. I know that's the one that kind of stands out for you.
Yeah.
And
you can the last two stream broadcasts on my channel are the 2 days that I had to play the games. So if you want to see those, The most recent one is the one with Duelist from Eden, and I did play God of Rock too, which was like a rhythm-based fighting game. Basically, Guitar Hero and Street Fighter had a baby.
Now that's a combination.
Yeah, but let's see. The first one had combo babies. No, the first one had 5 Force Fighters and the Black Heart. And then the most recent one had Duelist of Eden, combo babies, Stardust Valkyries, and I forgot already. Duelist from Eden. Yeah, there it is.
All right. Well, we will. I'll throw that over in the comments so people can see that specifically and go check that out. You check that Twitch TV. That's the video right there. And I will also put it in the chat on the YouTube. Let's see. The live chat is there. Oh, no, wait. It did it on YouTube, did it on Facebook here. So we have it there for people to see.
Speaking of fighting games, I know we were talking about Street Fighter a while ago, and I saw some game footage on Twitter, and apparently you just fight people on the street.
Yeah, so Street Fighter 6 is story mode. Lets you just punch a dude out on the street, and he will fight back.
Oh wow!
It's just you just like walk up and they just like do this to each other, and then now you're in a street fight.
Yeah.
So you're just fighting people in like business suits.
Yeah. Because you can create your own fighter in that game, and that's, I mean, why not? In a world ruled by the fist, why not just throw your fist in somebody's face?
Right. You should be able to just come to blows at any time.
Yes.
Not be limited to tournament brackets and stuff like that. So yeah, that I'm with it. Can't wait to check that out. And it's just like all the fighting that's taking place. I've had an opportunity over the last couple of days to actually, I'd say over the last week, I got a chance to watch a few movies. I got a chance to see new John Wick.
Nice.
I enjoyed that thoroughly. And a friend of mine called and she was asking, like, she was like, "Oh my God, have you watched the new Power Rangers?" And I got a chance to watch that like the day it came out. And I have to say, like, I enjoyed every bit of Power Rangers being Power Rangers, and Power Rangers once and always. I laughed. I enjoyed myself. So we're going to go ahead and throw up a full-on spoiler review tag for that. So if you have not seen Power Rangers once and always, skip forward. We're probably going to give this about 10 minutes. So check back
before we do that too. Can I also make a recommendation for an action movie? Ghosted, certainly. The new Chris Evans movie.
Was that going to be our next? Why did I watch that?
It's like, not to me. I thought it was good.
Okay.
I actually thought it was like a good movie.
I was reading reviews.
The girl in it was badass.
Anna de Armas, yes.
Well, if the reviews are bad, then we can do it because I enjoyed it. But I also like rom-coms, and I thought, it's got some great nods to like the MCU in there as well. And I think maybe people took it a little too seriously if they did not enjoy
now,
it for like what it was.
I did check out a little bit on that, and I did see that there was some cameos, and there was a couple people talking about like the script and stuff like that. So I mean, you can check some of those reviews. I want to say right now it might hold a 35 on Rotten Tomatoes, so it definitely qualifies to be one of our "Why did I watch that?" features. And I got no problem. Got no problem checking it. Oh, excuse me, it's a 29 on Rotten Tomatoes, but it does have a 61 audience score.
People have no taste.
Right, so clearly there's a gap there. So I would definitely check
at some point we need to have a conversation on here. I think at some point we need to have a conversation on here about the gap between audience and critics on Rotten Tomatoes, and whether or not critics should be looking at it like, am I bad at my job? Because clearly everybody's enjoying this, but for some reason we all didn't like it. Like, what is the disconnect between critique and the actual audience? Because if the purpose of the critique is to prepare the audience or give the audience some semblance of like whether or not they're going to enjoy something. Clearly, you are
missing
missing something in terms of connecting with people.
Yeah,
but that's
I would definitely say that. Yeah, because that's an easy one to derail me with. So let me put a pin in that. We'll definitely come back and we'll have a whole day dedicated to Rotten Tomatoes. Don't know what the hell they talking about. And I'd be happy. Because they definitely missed the mark. But you know what? Speaking of which, since I'm on here and we are talking about it, Power Rangers Once and Always. Let's see if they even have this one listed. Power Rangers Once and Always. Okay, so they do have the movie. Okay, so an 87 tomato meter and an 88 audience score. Okay.
That seems high.
Wow, really?
That does.
It seems as high as I was when I watched it.
That's crazy.
But you know what I will say? I do feel like anybody who had to review Power Rangers was fully aware they were reviewing a Power Rangers movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like their expectation was very low coming in because it's Power Rangers. And given that they really tried to go back to the classic Power Rangers, and I'm not gonna lie, like that opening sequence, you know, you come right in with the fighting. You got the putties, you got Billy sitting there trying to fight off some putties and whatnot. Apparently he's called for backup because the other Rangers just like show up. And when they have that opening, you know, screen splash, I was like, okay, I'm a little excited. I'm not gonna lie. You know, you got the guitar riff going in the background and everything. The music's getting it all hyped up. And of course, that's probably one of the best things about Power Rangers is that overall score, that soundtrack. All in all, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some critiques to be had, but they're no different than the critiques I would have had if we were just talking about the show from back in the day. And admittedly, it's one of those things, and I've come to understand this. Power Rangers was not made for me. And I can appreciate Power Rangers being what it is and who it's targeted to. And I have to, you know, set my expectation level to that range. Because there was some little things in there that was kind of throwing me off. And I was like, there's some questions need answers. And what? David, what did you think about it overall? Then we can start to kind of pick apart some things.
So overall, I thought it did exactly what it needed to do. It is definitely just it's Power Rangers. Like, I'm not expecting it to be anything more than Power Rangers. I'm expecting the super cheesy, like over exaggerated martial arts, the cheesy dialogue. I was surprised about the very dark themes. I thought that only existed in comic books, but hey, here we go. Because it gets dark in the comic books, like really dark, and they kind of touched on it a little bit in here, and that's like dudes are getting outright like killed in this show and in this movie, and I'm like, okay,
yeah, I was a little shocked that they chose to do one and not the other, so to speak. It was a very interesting choice, and I think it may be the newness of it. You know, just in comparison, when the Yellow Ranger comes in and she saves the day and protects Billy, you see her like just poof, vanish. She's not there. Rita was like, oh, okay, you want to get serious? Well, let's get deadly serious.
Robo
Rita. And it was like boom, and the Yellow Ranger was like poof, gone.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Pink Ranger, the Red Ranger, and the Green Ranger, we had their stand-ins, but we did not have them out of costume.
Right.
Because those original actors, I think it's Austin St. John,
Amy Jo Johnson,
and of course,
Jo Johnson.
Yeah. and of course, for the
Casey
Green
David
Ranger,
Frank.
yeah, like
Casey David
obviously,
Frank.
yeah,
Yep.
obviously, he won't be able to be in. So I did like that they had the the dedication moments, and I guess having something like that happen on camera for the Green Ranger might have been a little too triggering. We've had a few years to adjust for Trini.
Yeah. Well, the issue with
It
that is
was
that
filmed before.
yeah, it was filmed way before, like, well, not way before, but it was filmed before he had passed. So that's, but they had different, like him and Amy had different reasons for not reprising their roles for this. And of course, Austin St. John is in legal trouble right now. So yeah, that's his reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
tax fraud is a bitch. You know, let me tell you.
it's a thing. But Miss Trang, she actually passed in 2001.
Yeah.
And that it's been some time. So for them to carry on the spirit of that character the way they did, it was obviously set and designed for more or less a tribute to the Yellow Ranger, and it was actually really well done. It was quite beautiful the way they did that, and even in terms of story, having the daughter kind of carry on the tradition, and then we kind of see her move to the front of the pack when they have that, like, it's morphing time moment.
Yep.
She finally gets the morpher to work. I was a little weirded out by having Zach just move into the house. Like, that just seemed a little odd. Because it was like,
we got to have a guardian. Got to do it.
But I don't know. I guess I feel like if he was going to be her guardian, and I could accept that. People get adopted all the time. They, choose to take on the responsibility. This, maybe he was the godfather or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah. So it's very well known that, like, all the Rangers pretty much know each other and treat each other like family. So it wasn't too far fetched for me to, like, buy into that.
No. And I accepted wholeheartedly that he would want to look out for the daughter. That made perfect sense. But if he was, like, in politics, he was a congressman or something like that, he stops being a congressman so that he can move back to Angel Grove, basically, and raise the young lady, as opposed to moving the young lady to where he lives. I guess he was flexible and could move, and it gave her, something familiar. Any number of reasons why they could try to make it make sense. I'm just saying, when I watched it, it was like having that name and then Ann Jones just written on the
just
mailbox.
Like adding it to the mailbox.
Right. It was like, wait, what? Just felt a little right, because then I got it just made me think about things that probably weren't relevant, and I didn't even think of, like, what is the sleeping arrangement in the house now? Does the daughter get the master bedroom?
Now you're making it weird, like,
right. Well, no, I mean, like, does the daughter stay in her childhood room, or does she take over for the maid bedroom? Is he in a guest room now? How many bathrooms in this house? Like, it's a weird thing. And obviously, like, my nephews aren't going to be paying attention to that, but that's all I could think about was, like, what the hell? Yeah, I will say a lot of the other parts that were there, some of the other fight scenes were as great as they've always been. And there were other, like, when they bring in some of the other Rangers, so the cast that they had for, they were actually able to bring back Johnny Young Bosch, Walter Emmanuel Jones. He came back and he was able to reprise his role. Karen Ashley, David Yost, obviously. Steve Cardenas was there. Catherine Sutherland was there. Looking at this, and it tells us also that Barbara Goodson and Charlie Kirsch played Min, Trini's daughter.
Right.
So just having Adam Park and Aisha Campbell show up for the little cameos they had, it was almost like they were in it as an afterthought because they were available. And I feel like all of their scenes probably could have been shot in a day, which, they were still there and they got to be a part of it. So shout out to them. But of course, once I saw that Karen Ashley was going to be in it, I was kind of looking forward to seeing that Yellow Ranger come back and do battle. But they've obviously been out in space doing space stuff.
Yep.
So I guess in one of the other movies, you kind of go back and get to follow that. One of my other gripes, and this was a small gripe, not gonna lie, but like whoever was in charge of Zach's hairstylist in this, I appreciated him having the retro hairstyle, but like he never really grew into that head. And it was just like the hairstyle.
I'll say this: the hairline was a supreme improvement over what the hairline was in the original Power Rangers.
Right,
he used to have the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's definitely come a long way, and I'm sure, like in his normal day-to-day life. But it was like, I don't know. I felt like he looked like a regular show character to me, like Pops or something. Like his face was really tight here, but he had like all in his head. That was just like, bruh, they needed to like keep the wide shot on him or something.
That's crazy.
It was bugging me the whole time because it just kept being distracting every time he was on screen without his costume on. It was like, man, okay. But I will say the overall story was very Power Rangers. You get some, I don't know, like they clearly made this thinking that their older Power Ranger fans would come back to view it.
Yeah,
it wasn't going to be just the 6 and 7 year olds who were rushing home from school to turn on Fox Kids or whatever and try to watch Power Rangers. Yeah. They knew that the returning fans would be watching this. So they did try to make it a little bit more adult. It's a teenage daughter. She's, probably going to be 18 soon. She wants to carry on the legacy of her mother. And all this time, she didn't know that her mother was a Power Ranger. So it's like Billy's been trying to bring back Zordon, who in one of the previous movies, like sacrificed himself to save the Rangers and whatnot.
So to completely rid the world of Rita, Zordon had to give up his form, and that in turn dispersed his Z-wave particles into the ether along with Rita's evil side particles, and that's why we have Robo Rita, because that just came back because Billy was trying to bring back Zordon. That was a whole thing. It made as a Power Ranger fan, it made sense, but I'm just like, damn, Rita though.
And then on top of that, well, if you go back and in the Power Rangers, like not Zordon, but what was the other guy? Lord Zed.
Lord Zed.
Like when they brought Lord Zed out, like he started off seeming like he was going to be the new big bad and he was going to be worse. And then he ended up kind of being like a sidekick back to Rita, because I guess people just preferred Rita as the villain. Maybe she was just a more preferred villain.
Yeah, kind of, because they got married. Like that was a whole thing. It was great.
Right. I mean, it's like, to go back a little further, I remember in G.I. Joe, you had Cobra Commander, who was like the guy. And then Serpentor came out and it was like, ooh, Serpentor. And then Serpentor still ended up taking a back seat because Cobra Commander that dude. You know what I'm saying? Like that's who we're here to see. And if you try to go and go left and do all this extra, we're not interested in that. So I feel like that's why Rita is the one that came back. And then of course they tried to incorporate some time travel. Fortunately, they didn't complete the time travel process. So
man,
because that would have just been even more convoluted.
Yeah, that would have ruined it for me. I was like, please don't let them go back in time. Don't do this.
Right.
We don't need this. We already had Time Force. We don't need no more.
Exactly. So stopping it right when they did was good. I honestly thought we were going to get like the there was that fan-made offshoot Power Rangers YouTube story that was going on, and I thought we were going to get. I think that's the one that Frank was actually a part of.
Yeah.
And I thought we were going to get something like this, where at some point we would have 15, 20, 30 Rangers actively fighting on screen against putties or something. The dialogue was, whew.
It's Power Rangers.
There you go, and that's the saving grace. It was definitely,
it sure was.
It was Power Rangers dialogue, and these two. I mean, the electromagnet held the two. What was it? I think it might have been like Serpentor or something like that. But the two henchmen villains, they were just like suspended by this magnet. Now, mind you, they could teleport in, they could teleport out, but apparently the magnetic, what did Billy say? The strength of the magnet would keep them from being able to teleport out.
Yeah,
it's not how teleportation works, but okay. This is Power Rangers logic.
How does teleportation work, Sam? How does that work?
I mean, apparently it is disabled by electromagnetic strength. So that is, but Star Trek tells us that would not have been the way to do that. So, but different universes will give him that. Billy's obviously the smartest man on the planet. We're just gonna let him have that. He can make this machine. What's that?
I think actually in Star Trek that would work, but it would just have to be a strong enough electromagnetic field. It would have to be like an electromagnetic field around the entire planet that would distort you from being able to like lock on to someone's signal in Star Trek. It would not be like a single like junkyard magnet that would be able to keep you from teleporting somebody though.
Okay.
But the electromagnetic thing disrupting the teleportation is kind of like quasi true in the Star Trek realm as well, but just that was like a very like preschool version of that.
Okay, see now at least I feel like there's a better explanation for it. Billy was just like, yeah, this is gonna work. Why? Because I'm Billy and I said that's how it works. Okay. No, all credit though. I do have to give David Yost all credit. I feel like he was probably a producer on this. If he wasn't, I'd be shocked because I'm not going to say single-handedly carried this movie because other people were in it, but
the plot was very much driven around him and Min.
Yeah. It was all about Billy Cranston and Cranston Technologies and his flying beetle, his car.
Yep.
It was an ode to the old school Power Rangers, and if you expected anything different, that might be why you didn't like it. But if you liked old school Power Rangers, I think you're gonna like this because it is very much old school Power Rangers. Power Rangers Once and Always, available now on Netflix. Any other thoughts you all want to share about our Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? 55-minute runtime, released 2023, 87 Rotten Tomatoes.
I would not hate another one. I wouldn't hate it. I would very much enjoy another one.
Honestly, I would think if they keep the movies kind of the way they had this one, get in, do an hour, tell the story, because it felt like it was like watching two episodes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It doesn't need to be an hour and a half, doesn't need to be 2 hours. It was like watching two episodes, use one episode like a what is it? A to be continued and the finale. So a two-parter.
Yeah.
It had the same excitement, and they gave you just enough to get you in, get the story, build it up, tell it, and get out. And have the happy ending there at the end. So I could probably,
I think
I would definitely watch another. I'll say that.
I think if they did another one, it needs to be everybody passing the torch, because the only thing that was weird to me was like in the beginning when the scene with Trini happens. It's like, okay, all the Rangers are there, but the only two Rangers that take their helmets off are Billy and Zach. And it kind of just draws unneeded attention to the fact that the other actors who played those characters are not there for, whatever reason. I kind of feel like we could just either do that scene with helmets on, or not have everybody be able to answer the call when they come. And then that way it's not weird when, like, I mean, I guess they had to do it because then the bad guy had to like zap the power and shrink the other Rangers down. But that was the only thing that kind of like threw me off, because I'm just like, everybody already knows all the original Rangers are not in it for various different reasons. I think, the story of, having Trini die on screen was like shocking, but I think it was the right choice. I think like I'm not opposed to killing characters on screen personally, just because I think it can add to the story if it's done right.
Right.
But I think just the way it was handled, where it's like, all right, Amy Jo Johnson's Kimberly like gets zapped, and then now we just bring in Kat, and it kind of just like, even for like my wife, who was a child when the original came out, she was just like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "Well, that's Kat. She came in Zio and blah 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 blah." And so I would like to see a story where it's like, "All right, Zach, it was cool revisiting Hip Hop Keto one more time, but like, let's let that be the last time. Let's bring in a new, young, hip Black Ranger." Rocky, thanks for showing up. The jeans were super snug and stretchy and spandex.
Yeah.
You can hang them up and just be the firefighter that you were meant to be. And let's just get some like young blood, and like, let's get whoever's in the suits doing the work. Let's get like that kind of energy back into the show, because I do think the teenagers with attitude aspect of Power Rangers was like super, super important. And I think it's one of those things where we know about all the other Power Ranger, like, not even spinoffs, but like bootlegs, where they try to do the same thing, whether it's Big Bad Beetleborgs, a VR Trooper. And for some reason, like, this Power Rangers story is the one that stuck in America. And so I really do think that, like, if we're going to do like this movie offshoot thing, and because to me, it's like, okay, is this canon now with Dino Force and everything in there? Or is this, you know what I mean? Because I don't really know how it works if they're still Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but I don't think Kat was ever a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. I think she came in at like Zio. So now she's doing Pterodactyl.
Ninja Force or something. And actually, from what I saw, like, he tossed her the coin, if I remember correctly, and they were like, okay, they just popped it in their morpher, and that's how they were able to morph into the appropriate.
It's like cool. So it's basically like, because it would have been cool too to be like, for her to just morph into like whatever her Ranger is, and now you have this Ranger mix. But it would have been weird probably for her to be the only one not in a like traditional Mighty Morphin suit. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I think all my complaints are definitely like nitpicky. It definitely did the nostalgia thing that it was made to do, and I appreciated it for doing that. And I appreciated, seeing Zach be like kind of in the forefront of a story that wasn't about him like missing out on a date or trying to be cool or something like that. I really enjoyed like being able to see Zach have like an actual emotional arc, and seeing his connection with Billy and the other Rangers, even the Rangers who he didn't like fight with, because he didn't fight with Kat or Rocky. So even though he like knew Rocky and Aisha, because I think there was some overlap before Jason, Trini, and Zach left for a youth conference in Europe, never to return.
Right. Something along those lines there. And like I said, there is definitely some crossover. And if I'm not mistaken, when you had the Kat was Power Rangers Turbo.
Yes.
And she actually came to Angel Grove. And at one point, Tommy had upgraded from a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger to a Turbo Ranger.
Yes.
And that was also when
Tommy was damn near every Ranger.
Right.
Tommy is canonically the greatest Ranger to have ever lived.
Yeah. So, and it's kind of, and the other little things, like I said, there were a lot of things that just kind of stood out, and they made it very obvious, because it was like when they finally did bring the Megazord up, so two people can control the Megazord.
Oh, that was my other problem. Just do the man in the suit. I don't need a CGI Megazord.
Yeah,
I want two people in suits
and
fighting
rubber
in a
suits.
cardboard box city.
Right. I will say that was a little saddening, because I thought we were going to get that, and even when I saw it like going the CGI route to create, I was like, well, maybe they'll just do it for that, and then they'll switch it back. And they didn't switch it back, and I was sad, because I really wanted to see the old school Megazord battle. But yeah, two people were able to control the Megazord, so it's like when the other Power Rangers get in, what were they doing any different? And
what y'all doing?
Like, that is a hell of a control. Like, that joystick they use to control the Megazord. Wow, that ain't no Voltron. Like, you could drive the whole thing just by putting your head on top and pushing forward. So it's obviously operated by thought. You just think about what you want to do.
Yeah, even when she was like, "How do I do this?" He was like, "You'll figure it out." It's like, "Oh, Power Rangers, you didn't want to explain how the Megazord actually works, but you also wanted to address the fact that like you can't hop in and just start driving without questions."
Yeah, the morphing grid is basically just the morphing grid would just tell you what to do. It's the ancestors will tell you when to stop. That's the logic behind it.
Now, go ahead.
And for like two people piloting the Zord at the same time, it's like you just don't have the best functionality with it. You're like, basically the morphing grid is just making up for the lack of manpower in there, which is why you don't want to do it all the time, because the morphing grid is all powerful but yet very fragile.
Okay.
So you gotta do it as needed is the disclaimer on the morphing grid. As needed. You can do whatever you want within reason.
Let's see. So when I look up Kat's IMDb, she's actually been a couple of different. She did start off on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. She moved up to Zeo Quest. She was Power Ranger Zeo.
But when she was on Mighty Morphin, she was a bad guy, because she was like enchanted by whoever the villain was, and she would like turn into a cat. Like, she would turn into like a little black cat, and it was like her and because I feel like she was like Kimberly's like gymnastics rival or something too when she first got there.
Okay.
Sorry. I remember all the relationship drama aspects of Power Rangers. I don't know nothing about the morphing grid, but I know who was trying to date who.
Right. But you know what? All of that was interesting, and it does make for unique storylines and stuff like that. But there is just like one of these little trivia things. It turns out she was actually, of all the Power Rangers, she was a Power Ranger for the least amount of time.
Yes.
So that is interesting. So this is another opportunity for her to come in and get a little bit more time as a Ranger. So kudos to her on that. Yeah, all in all, there's a lot about Power Rangers that is good and fun and funny, and we got a return to some of that. Obviously, we're not going to be able to get like classic villains like Goldar, as I'm sure he's long gone.
Yeah, Goldar is super dead.
Right, but I'm saying
well, in the show, but yeah, he's super dead.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just one of those things. It does have that same feeling though. I getting to see the staff make my monster grow. Like, I was so excited when I saw that part, and like Rita has got like the best.
I would like watch this
series.
Ever. Yeah, facts. I would watch a series like kind of based on this, but like I said, as long as they bring in some like new blood, even if it was just like every episode you were like replacing one Ranger till you get your like new core, I guess 6, because Dragonzord was included. So yeah. Although I don't know if you can really kill Tommy on screen, considering.
Yeah. I mean, it would be one of those things where, like, again, canonically, you really can't. Yeah, okay. So Will's got some comments for us here. He's just getting his hip, and yeah, that's what we're talking
right.
about.
He's right.
Yeah, wasn't just a Zeo Ranger, and she came back and she became the Pink Ranger.
Yeah, she was a cat.
Kim left. Yep. So, and it's because of her cat-like eyes. So, one of the things that I thought, just as I was kind of like doing some initial research on Power Rangers, is I was Lawrence and I were looking at just the original like Super Sentai Warriors and whatnot, Zero Rangers, Super Sentai, and the Yellow Ranger was male in that, and that's the reason Yellow Ranger doesn't have a skirt, but the Pink Ranger does, because it was just one female. Later on, of course, they've made some changes, and I actually didn't know, and it was just one of those things that I never really paid attention to, but I didn't know that they were actually using archival footage from the Super Sentai show when they originally did Power Rangers, that it was kind of like clipped together, and it really stood out to me at one point when Kat was morphing, when they were standing in Rita's little like bell tower or whatever, when she went to morph and the Pink Ranger went from Kat to this little tiny version of Kat. I was like that's an obvious stunt double issue, but okay, we go, you know what, I'm not even gonna point that out. But of course, it was one of those things that's why they're so like distracting.
Yeah, that's why even like if you look at some of the early episodes, what's the it was like Rita, obviously she had Goldar, she had the dude who makes all the like clay things, but then there was like another woman who was also a bad guy. She was Japanese, clearly, but you only saw her in Rita's lair, and you only saw her fighting the Rangers in their suits because she was part of the original Japanese show as well. It's also part of the reason why you never really saw Rita with the Rangers outside of their suits too, because most of that was like footage from the Sentai show, and everything else was they were just filming the stuff outside of the suits or in the suit, no helmet, with the American cast. So yeah, I used to think that was weird too, because I was like, man, they're so like expressive when they're like talking with the helmets on, and it's like, I get it that you have to be like somewhat expressive because people can't see your face, but it was like to an extreme. It was like beyond like stormtroopers and like a Boba Fett type character,
right?
To a point where you're like, this is like different, like culturally in some way. And then even
like even
if you look at like the backgrounds in some of the originals, yeah.
It was like complete
and it's like, and I think that was like when I first learned about like voice dubbing, really, because it was like, okay, so basically Jason's just in the studio just like sick while he's watching them fight. And they're like, all right, do some karate sounds here. Go.
See, I think that's also why they made it such a point to have all of those scenes and all of that story with the Rangers not transformed, so that you could see and believe Tommy could do those things, Jason could do those things, Zach could do those things, Kimberly, Billy, Trini, that, you know what I'm saying, like giving you that sense that even though the footage that they're using is that shared footage and it's, you know, already been recorded and they're just doing, like you said, the voice dub, when you get to see these characters do these things out of costume, it gives you that connection to that character to say, okay, they really are teenagers with attitude and they really can do these things. Okay, Jason really looks like he could fight. Tommy really looks like he could fight. You know, when
Tommy
you see
can fight, he was beating everybody up.
Oh yeah, I mean Tommy soloed the Rangers, so we already, you know, like it went down.
He literally carjacked the Megazord.
Those 5 episodes had little me stressed out every week for 5 weeks.
Fam.
Right,
fam.
Like what he's gonna do
bus
now?
Ride was like, yo, what are we gonna do?
It's like, did you see the episode? You know, you punched a Yellow Ranger so hard that the Zord exploded, right? You know what happened, right? So what he finna do this week? I don't know.
Like he jumped in there and kicked everybody
then
out.
It was
there,
also
right?
kind of, but then it was also kind of like, but I kind of fuck with it though.
Yeah,
like he's bad, but
he him
I'm
though.
Right.
He's him.
And then of course he got down, once he pulled out that dragon sword, he was playing the flute, had his own Zord. Like my man had a solo Zord that could stand toe to toe with the Megazord. And then if they wanted to, he would pair them up and make like a super mega dragon Zord. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun with Power Rangers. And like I said, I would definitely watch another one. Even if it's just to sit here and do this. It was good to see them like remember that they have weapons and use them at different times, because I felt like they just run around with that pistol on the side and never shoot it. And not even on like some Ninja Turtles who have weapons but never use them kind of thing. That being a cartoon and like for kids, I get it. It was a little different. And same with this, But it's like,
well, I wonder if
point.
it was a thing of like, because they were using the Sentai footage. I wonder if there is Sentai footage of them like just like using the weapons more. But then for the American audience, they were just like, nah, we can't. Because I was watching there's a documentary series about Barney on Peacock that I was watching. And there was like this scene where they were showing like, how a study like they did on the news back in the day about how like viewing habits affect like kids. And they were like, here we show this room full of kids, Barney, and look at them. They're like hugging and playing and singing along. And then we showed them Power Rangers, and it's just like a room full of like 5-year-olds, just like, yeah, like trying to punch and kick and do everything on there. So
oh yeah,
I know
we
like
ain't cleaning
Ninja
up no
Turtles
more.
is a
Now
good
we
example
fight
too.
Violence.
Yeah,
That's why.
Yeah, like Ninja Turtles was a good example because the first movie they used their weapons, the second movie they didn't, and then in the cartoon they changed Michelangelo's nunchucks to like that weird like grappling hook thing. So like all he could do was like fight and go from like building to building. But it's like, you live in a sewer, dog. Why do you need a grappling hook? Like this doesn't make any sense. And it was all just because kids was watching Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles and going to school trying to kick the shit out of each other. Because I definitely tried that Keanu kick that he did on the bad guy in the beginning of Ninja Turtles in school, and somebody definitely got kicked in the head when people was trying that at school. So
I believe it. I mean, that goes as far back as like all cartoons. I mean, you got people who, I'm sure somebody at some point has whacked another kid on the head because Tom and Jerry did it. You know what I'm saying? And so there's always been that slight bit of disclaimer where, hopefully it's fiction and it's understood to be fiction. But I know like there was a little thing like in G.I. Joe cartoons, everybody got laser pistols and laser rifles, and like nobody actually got shot. You know what I'm saying? And it was like every time a plane got shot out of the air, always a parachute. All they ever did was capture these guys. Like for the battles to go on the way that they did, there was only like 2 deaths in all of G.I. Joe. And so it's like it's essentially kind of the same here, where you know who's watching, and you have to, the people that are actually going to like blow up and get destroyed and be hurt are going to be the clear and obvious villains, and otherwise it's just going to be a Bulk and Skull pie in the face kind of thing, because it has to be lighthearted humor. But when they're the Megazord and they're fighting the giant spaghetti monster or whatever, spaghetti monster can blow up. Spaghetti monster can, because that's fake, and kids are going to look at that and kind of know that that's fake, right? So that's probably what it is. So like I said, for me, it was nice to actually see the Power Rangers, remember that they have weapons and use them, because Zach had that guitar axe, and the bow and arrow.
Nah, it was
sword.
a cannon. It wasn't a guitar. It was a cannon.
It was a cannon.
Because when they formed, when they formed the one where all 5 of them did it, his was like the middle piece that the like little beam like shot out of.
Right. But when he has it by himself, it was like boom, boom, and he could like flip it around and he could still shoot from it. And it just looks like it has that guitar style. Yeah, it would be really nice for this to break out into, you know, a couple more movies. Go ahead, transition everybody, and maybe it's time for you know what? Maybe that's the angle. You let everybody come in, pass the torch to somebody, and then you go ahead and you have a brand new set of teenagers with attitudes. And by the end of the series, Billy has recovered Zordon, and now that Zordon's back, boom. But the threat would be different because, of course, with Rita gone, there's probably a little less threat and a little less need for the Power Rangers. So unless you're going somehow Palpatine came back, unless you're going to keep doing that, you know, you start to run out of major villains that are Power Ranger level threats. And I think that would probably be the biggest, not loophole, probably the biggest challenge. But sure, hell, bring her back again. Find another villain. There's plenty of space villains out there who may have other Z-Waves and could be a part. Who knows?
Rita and Lord Zed's kid.
See, there you go. There you go. Prince something or other. Yeah, see, we can make it work. We can make it make sense. There's some logic there. All right, so now that 10 minutes is up. Now that we had that little 10-minute discussion on Power Rangers, hopefully we didn't ruin it too bad for the people who came back in 10 minutes and was like, y'all still talking about Power Rangers? So I'll be sure to put the timestamp in for this one because, you know, we gotta make sure we're clear on where that review started and ended so people don't come in and get messed up. But today is the music episode, or it's one of our music weeks. And I actually had a pretty interesting conversation. So today is my mother's birthday. So happy birthday, Mom.
Hey.
Shout out to her.
Happy birthday, Mom.
She got to go. She wanted to get an Airbnb out on Lake Oconee. And we spent this past weekend, we were out visiting and we were out on the lake with them. Everybody had a good time. We stayed a couple nights. It was great. I did majority of the cooking on Saturday. We went down there Friday night, and then we got up Saturday. I did a big family breakfast. Everybody that was there, so I cooked breakfast for everybody. And then later on that evening, I was on the grill and did dinner for everybody. So that was my contribution for the weekend. But I called my mom today, of course, to wish her happy birthday. We were just talking, and she was like, "So, what's your show going to be about tonight?" And I was telling her, I was like, well, tonight's show is the music special. And we just got to talking. She was like, "Oh, wait, I have a question. Who's going to be the new Batman?" And I was like, "The new Batman?" She was like, "Yeah, in the commercial they had for the new movie, there's going to be another Batman." I was like, "Oh, no. That's Michael Keaton." She was like, "So it is Michael Keaton." Okay. And she was like, my mom wanted me to know that she was excited to see this movie because Michael Keaton was in it. And I thought that was quite interesting. And that, of course, led into some conversation. I was telling her about how, theme songs in movies. And we've discussed theme songs in the past. And, of course, how music can certainly move. My mother pointed out that, she thought that the music from the Batman movie was very iconic. And she said that she knew that was Michael Keaton's Batman because when they showed him on the screen, that music was playing. And I thought to myself, in a when you watch a trailer or something like that, they do that all the time, and they have those little moments where they have so and so's theme, and that's usually like a subtle clue for those people who like really try to like deep dive and catch all the little nuances in film and stuff like that. When you go and you dissect the film, sometimes that's a giveaway, especially like if you have on subtitles and that sort of thing. When they put that up on screen and they have so and so's theme, that's a clear indication of who this is, who that is. And it's pretty cool that people have themes. And so we just got to talking about different themes. And so I'd like to kind of start the question there tonight. Of all the different movies and all the different themes out there, who do you think has the most iconic theme, like single theme song in terms of
Shaft?
Yeah, I think that is definitely up there.
Or I'm not saying that's the definitive answer. Let's start. I'll throw out ideas.
No, and I'm with you. I would definitely. I think that you know what?
Or should I say Shaft?
Shut your mouth. You know, it's like, yeah, I think if we did a top 10, I think Shaft would definitely make the list. I think Shaft would make the cut.
Right.
And I would say something like James Bond is going to make the cut. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think, and he was right there with me. He said at the same time, James Bond, like, because that's one, it doesn't matter who it is, what it is. You hear that, and in fact, you can hear just the beginning of it. Dun, 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 and you already know that's James Bond.
Right.
Interesting.
Darth Vader.
Yeah, the Imperial March. I was actually going to say, like, interesting fact, though, when you hear, like John Williams, the original score for Star Wars, like the Star Wars theme, it's interesting that when you actually watch the movie, there's not a lot of opportunities for them to play that to kind of hype it back up.
Yeah, Indiana Jones is a good one, too.
Yeah. Definitely Indiana Jones. And that's one of those, like, as it gets to be really interesting and it starts kind of rolling on, you know that the action is good because you hear the Indiana Jones theme playing. Once he's like on top of the tank fighting a Nazi or something like that, and that music starts playing, you know that we're about to get like the big action sequence. But it's like when I think about Star Wars, like, even though that is like such a major song, it doesn't really stand up as being, I would say that Darth Vader's theme in Star Wars is probably more iconic, but the Star Wars song is more popular.
Well, I think it's more tied to a singular character than the Star Wars theme, right? Because even I would say in the Star Wars theme, in terms of tied to, well, not one character, but I would say Han and Leia's theme as well, because whenever you see the trailers, when they show Han and Leia together, you're going to get that.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, we get it. They're in love. Or maybe not. Who knows? But we get it.
Yeah, you definitely, and I would agree with that. And even something like, Duel of Fates is probably... Now, that's one, like, you can play that during the fight sequences, and it has a little bit more weight to it. And I think Duel of Fates is definitely up there. Will is saying Ghostbusters. You know what? I'm gonna give Ray Parker his flowers. I'm gonna put him at number 11, and if we don't come up with anything, I'll let him take the 10th spot. But when they complete their... Yeah, and I would absolutely agree with that. The character themes do carry more weight because you are invested. And honestly, it's like whenever you have that action sequence and you start hearing that music, that's going to drive you and push you and take you in that direction to know that something is happening, or to like really buckle in and buckle up because it's about to get rowdy. It's about to get exciting.
And the original Star Wars theme actually just makes me think about reading, because usually when that's playing, I'm trying to read the scroll that's happening on the screen. So
Yeah.
I tie that with more of just like a recap, or like setting the scene, than I do like a specific character, because when you show the character on screen, usually that theme cuts off and then you get into like the actual action of it.
Right. And even like when when they're trying to do like the trench run, or um when they were flying the speeder bikes on Endor, like there's no time that original Star Wars theme helps drive the action. It's literally just the opening song. Like I said, that's now when those horns hit, dun 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 dun. Like, yeah, you get the yellow scroll on the screen, and you're civil unrest. It's wartime, and you get that part, and that's where you are, and that's probably the most. That's about the only time that music holds any weight in the movie, So it's like, yeah, I'm definitely with you there. Where do you think the Batman theme sits? Is that top 5, or does that just make top 10? Tim Burton's Danny Elfman's Batman theme.
I don't know, because I feel like I think more of Batman the animated series when I think of a theme for Batman, because just out of sheer volume, right? Like, I've watched Batman the animated series episodes over and over and over and over, and I think that there is some similarities between the two, but I would say if you're going to make me pick a Batman theme song, I would pick the animated series over the film score.
Oh yeah,
but if we're just going film score,
down,
then I would put it top 10 for sure.
Oh no, I mean, I think because a character like Batman is in both worlds, and I would say between the two, you probably have a larger viewing audience for the animated series. And I think as a result, that probably, I think that's a legitimate argument that would be the more associated sound. And that's something we talked about even on on our previous episode of Therapy, where most people are familiar with the character. And I would say more people are probably familiar. Yeah, that's a powerful one right there. Jaws' shark theme.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's
I
one
got
of those
another
things,
one too
like,
when you're ready.
when you hear, as more people are familiar with the character of Batman, probably from Justice League Unlimited, and of course Batman the Animated Series, that is where most people's association to the sound of the character is probably coming from. And I think both of them work. Yeah. Obviously the Danny Elfman score is good, and it fits, and it is clearly Batman. But yeah, I think that that animated series probably outranks it. So I think the animated score could probably take the spot and therefore knock that one off the list. Will, are you gonna let the Danny Elfman Batman knock off Ghostbusters, or you want to keep Ghostbusters on the list and pull Batman? Jeff, what was the other one you had?
Fight the Power, Radio Raheem, and Do the Right Thing.
Yeah. When I
don't know if it's top 10, but when I hear that song, I think
I automatically
just running for their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I Ghostbusters over Batman, I'll go for that. I'll go for that. Yeah. The minute I hear Fight the Power, even now, like if I was just to turn on a old school hip hop station or something like that, and I heard that song, I would immediately think of that movie. I would immediately think of Do the Right Thing. So yeah, that would definitely be one that evokes. And it's funny because with that being just a standalone hip hop song, the close association to that movie is probably a little surprising. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it was written. It was written for that movie. It's the
True.
opening theme to the movie, and literally every time you see Radio Raheem on screen, like, or you hear the movie, you hear the like song creeping into the scene, you know Radio Raheem is like
Is
coming into the
about to be
scene.
on the scene.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
like, because even there's like the scene in the movie where where Bugging Out is like, man, don't you play nothing else? He's like, I don't like nothing else. So literally just like that song is just, I think, forever just tied to that character for sure.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because even when I think about like the see, okay, now would we add the 78 Superman?
And I was gonna actually about to say that. I literally
So-
about to say that. I was like, Sam, you're gonna be so proud of me.
So here's the thing. That is one without a doubt. When you hear that song, that is obviously associated with Superman and nothing else. And you know what I'm saying? Like even that probably more so over, you know, Tim Daly. Well, not Tim Daly, he was a voice actor over the Superman animated series. That has a cute little theme, but it's even that theme is not as, dare I say, as cool as the one that that Batman had. You know what I'm saying? It's like, would it be cool like you,
Also,
man?
like, people didn't really watch that the way they watched Batman the animated series. Like,
True.
if we gonna
Yeah.
keep it a buck, like,
No, I absolutely
wasn't-
agree.
it
And that's why I
wasn't-
say, like, I think the Superman theme song from the movie, John Williams' score, is without a doubt probably one of the single most iconic. And it's crazy because Indiana Jones, Superman, Star Wars, all of that's John Williams. So he that dude. And he likes big horns and the whole orchestra coming in. You know what I'm saying? Like that's, and so he has that advantage as opposed to
Mandalorian. Sorry.
yeah.
So I'm just saying them as I think of them, but keep going.
No. And I mean,
Mandalorian.
you
When I hear
definitely have
that, dum, 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 when I hear that, I'm like, oh, somebody about to get fucked up.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I mean that's right. Like that would, and you know what? Whenever you're watching the episode and he's about to take out like 30, 40 troopers and they play that with that upbeat tempo, like you know the shit's about to go down, and that gets you hyped.
Yeah, like he getting his ass beat, but then when the drums come in, you're like, okay, the tables are gonna turn. Which also makes me think of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that one is it's played 3 different ways for each character in the movie. So you can tell whether if it's the whistle, you know it's for one person. If it's a theremin, and I think there's like another way that it's played, but each one of the main characters in that movie has like a certain instrument or way that that theme is played to associate it directly to that character as well. Just a fun fact behind the scenes. But the Mandalorian theme song clearly is like based on like a lot of those old spaghetti west. I mean, the whole show is based on spaghetti westerns if we keep it real. So I think like the music playing homage to that, but definitely wanted to include The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly in there too.
Yeah, that would be in there. I really like this one here, Mission Impossible. Like that is, and again, like that's a theme song that doesn't go with anything else. And when you hear that, you know it's about like that is anytime you have to do something that feels hard or seems like it's going to be a task that shouldn't be able to be accomplished. That's the kind of music that plays in your head to, you know, hype you up to help you get through it, thinking that, you know what, this is an impossible mission, but, you know, impossible mission force, IMF, I can do this. And it's from like you have that playing in your head, you kind of hype yourself up thinking you can do it. And I would probably put in terms of I think because James Bond has more movies, therefore slightly more exposure. Even though Mission Impossible did have like the TV show, I think it's a certain age group that would be more familiar with that and recognize it from there, since they did use the same theme and just kind of updated it, brought it in.
I mean, I'll be real. James Bond is the more iconic spy. And I think also the fact that every time you hear that James Bond theme in the beginning, it's almost like an identical, it's the gun barrel thing, bang, the blood comes on the screen, and then you go into, so even though you do hear it in the film as well, and they have like the different reprises and all the different versions, every single James Bond movie has that like they have that whole thing. And yeah.
That
And
that
I think
one,
more people, and I think with Mission Impossible, people could sing like a part of it, but people can sing like the whole James Bond theme song and they don't have no words.
yeah. Yeah. I like when he's doing something, and what's funny with that is you have the action, like you were talking about the different reprisals. You have the action version of that song when he is like
And then there's
escaping,
James driving on the beach.
and then you have like the really cool, because he's doing some dope shit. Like, I'm gonna take this parachute and this ski and this fan, and I'm gonna make a paraglider or some shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's when you get like the cool version. Da 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 da.
But then you got the part where he's just like walking in the shadows, and it's just the strings, and it's like,
right.
And then we can even go to the GoldenEye game pause screen, because whoever did that remix was on fire.
That thing was
Just
like, you know what? It
like
reminds me of
unnecessarily just fire for no reason.
That's the one. There's the one video I've seen it a bunch of times. It's like the songs that go unnecessarily hard, and he's like, "Look, hey, we need something. When we're gonna pause, can you put something together?" And the guy's like sitting there with the glasses on. He's like, "Look, yeah, it doesn't need to be all that." And he just like goes in for the third beat, and he's like, "Okay, yeah, do it."
There's another one too with like
sets the piano on fire.
Yeah. There's another one too with like a whole bunch of just like, you know how they like edit like Autumn Hood videos together, and it's like people like clearly dancing to rap music like Bobby Shmurda, but it's like they edited the like James Bond pause screen music.
Oh yeah,
and it's just like,
I mean, because it's
like
up there, man.
in it.
It's up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Batman at 2, Superman in top 5. Fair. Okay, Spider-Man and the X-Men animated themes.
Yes.
X-Men animated theme over Spider-Man. Spider-Man sitting at like 8 or 9. I'm good with that, because that is another one. Even if I wasn't like looking at the screen and I heard that song, I would know that. But X-Men is the Whitney Houston remix that will never be anything else, and it is like forever stuck in my head. And that is one like everybody, I say everybody figuratively, but yeah, like everybody knows that song. And when you hear that,
and that's another one too where it's like when you hear it come in, you know it's about to take off on the show. Like the theme song one is one, but like when it gets to the climax of the episode and you hear them dun, 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 I was like, all right, we about to get busy right now. And I think that, to me, that's one of those things that I really like about the use of score. Like when you hear the Imperial March, and you know like Darth Vader's coming in, using like the music as like a storytelling device, and not just like we need to fill in this like background space, I think really helps create like those iconic themes. Because like what Will's saying, Ghostbusters, right? Iconic soundtrack song, iconic theme song, but like when they're fighting or when they're like about to cross the streams, or do something like crazy. It's like the Ghostbusters theme song in the movie plays when they're like drumming up business and doing like hammy commercial stuff, and then when their business is like taking off, that's when you hear the Ghostbusters theme. But you don't really hear like reprisals. You don't hear like alternate like versions and different mood setting versions of that song throughout the score, because it's really just a song for the soundtrack that was written actually after the movie came out. There's a podcast called R&B Money. Ray Parker Jr. did an episode. Very fascinating listen. He talks a lot about how the Ghostbusters thing happened. Also, a very nice man. Met him a couple times when I was working out in California. And he has like his answer machine is actually like a like remix of the Ghostbusters song that's like basically "I'll call you right back." Very, very funny.
You know, I remember when that was a thing, and you could actually definitely about to date myself here. There was like a whole catalog of songs that you could get to be your outgoing answering machine message. And just like people would see those little like call now for the time life, whatever. You get this like 5 record set. Answer machines used to actually have like a physical cassette tape that you had to put in, and it would play that little bit. So you could buy this cassette tape and it would have all these different like answering machine messages. You saying Parker's
cassette
cool like
tape?
that.
I'm just kidding.
Right. Don't do that. But yeah, like I remember, I would love to hear that again, just as a reminder of one of those outgoing messages. And, you know, I think when I think about the Ghostbusters and they are energizing their proton packs, you get like your standard orchestral heroic music playing right there. When the first proton pack goes up, then the second proton pack goes up, and then the third one goes up, you know, and everybody now they're holding the ghost and they're like trying to destroy him. You're just getting that heroic music. And after when they defeat the boss and they're now getting ready to go to their victory parade, that's when you're going to hear the Ghostbusters theme play again. So yeah, it doesn't have that same build up. And I mean, honestly, the song's not really designed for that because it is kind of a storytelling element in and of itself. Like the song kind of explains who they are, what they're doing, and what's going on. It doesn't have that, because it would be weird to just have a instrumental for that one. You know what? I think we might have. Do we have enough for 10 listeners? We got James Bond, Indiana Jones. We've got a Ghostbuster. We're putting Batman. We're putting Superman. Mission Impossible can probably sit at 10. I think we have enough for this list right here. And Harry Potter. I think Harry Potter kind of falls into the same category as that original Star Wars theme, where you know when you hear that it automatically puts you in the mind of Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. But I don't think there's anything associated with anyone in particular. But it is definitely a very magical sound, like that hum that just kind of goes back and it's very drifty and very wavy, and it sounds a little magical. Dun 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 dun. You know, like the little that sounds like something that's probably played on xylophones, and works out really, really well. But then the way it kind of like waves back and forth, yeah, that's definitely iconic just in terms of like movie score. I would put it way up on the list for that. But as far as like a character score, I don't know that it fits for that one. It is cool when you can transition. Go ahead.
So what about Captain America? Like, I know he has one, but I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. But if I hear it, I know this is Captain America. but maybe if I can't think of it, it don't count.
I would
But
say
I was
that
throwing it out there to see if somebody else could think of it.
I mean, I will say that, like, just thinking about the overall Marvel theme, I think that okay, yeah. Actually, you know what? I do. As soon as that started playing, I had like 5 or 6 scenes in my head. Like it has that kind of pickup. Let me see. Um, Let me look here and see if this is something that could play or do it. Like, how do I give credit? See, this is Alan Silvestri. Um, Maybe if I just like copy and paste all of this into this, then it will. You know what? I'll post the link. That's what I'll do. You can go.
Yeah, I was like, just drop the link in the chat.
Yeah, you can go. You can listen because this is the first thing that came up. But when that starts, I would say the first like 3-4 seconds of that, you hear that and you're immediately like, oh yeah, that's okay, and it fits, and that's Captain America. So, see, it's funny because like I don't know that other people. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think any other Avengers have one. Like don't have one for Punisher, Daredevil, um, the first three, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Every time I think about that theme, it makes me think of the I'm a Marvel, I'm a DC, and they were all talking about their theme songs. And when Spider-Man got ready to do his, he was like, "Hold on, I'm doing it." He's like, he was just going back trying to get him hyped up about it. And it was like, what are you doing? It's like, that's my theme song. That's how it goes. And it's funny because that's where they should have used like the TV show.
Mario.
Ooh. No question. But see, it's funny because which Mario song? And that was something that David, help me out on that. Which Mario song?
Well, it'd have to be the overworld theme. Like yeah, like that's the one. That has to be the one. Right? But then like Mario's got so many
That's
so many
like,
themes,
ooh.
like they're just as iconic. You know, the underground theme, the athletic theme, and any Yoshi's Island theme. Yeah. And that's the level theme, not a character theme. And I was just about to get into it, but see, now we're talking about like just level themes like that are iconic. We're not even talking about character themes. Like Mario himself doesn't even really have like the one character theme, right? But then you look at somebody, you look at a character like Sonic who has multiple character themes. It's kind of hard to pin down like a character theme for a character like Mario, just because of the fact that Mario is much bigger than the character himself, I guess would be a good way of kind of describing the situation there.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
So Mario himself doesn't really need a character theme because of the fact that he is the world is basically the character.
Mario is the icon.
Yeah.
No music is required.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like even see, but it's funny because even something like if I just hear the 1-up sound,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? To me, that's like just in terms of an iconic sound, just the 1-up sound.
Yeah.
Hitting the bricks to get the coin, that sound. Da-ding, da-ding, da-ding. You know, like that's But I think if you played, and I try to think of like what would my mom recognize, and I think if we played the Mario Brothers song, like the overture,
overworld,
the overworld, I think I'd be able to identify that as a video game.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't necessarily know, like, oh, that's the Mario Brothers, right? Like, she wouldn't do that, but she'd be like, oh, that's a video game, right? That's a video game.
Yeah.
And then you could hold up like 5 pictures. She'd be like, that one. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I think, and then she'd be like, oh, yeah, that's that Nintendo guy, right? Go back, like, there's no N in the word. It's just, it starts with an I, Nintendo.
So like in video games, there's very few characters that have their own like distinct iconic like theme. It's more so just the game themselves, the games themselves that have the themes. Like, the only outliers that I can think of would be in fighting games. Like Guile's theme is everywhere, Ken's theme, Soul Bad Guy, Hachi Mishima. Those are the types of themes that you're kind of looking for, because the characters themselves are characters themselves that can exist outside of their games and still be, kind of recognized. However, you have, on the flip side, you have, like we were just saying before, the overworld theme from Mario, Green Hill Zone from Sonic, Dearly Beloved from Kingdom Hearts. That those are themes that you can just listen and you just instantly know what that's from and what that is, right?
And I think in its own right, that does make it iconic.
Yeah. The opening theme.
Yeah, but if
from
we're
Halo,
talking specifically about tying it to a character, then
so
I agree with what David saying, because
Yeah,
it's
it's-
more tied to the world and the game than like, because like the same song plays when Luigi is playing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel what you're saying.
Yeah. I guess another outlier would be like RPGs. Like one that stands out in my head immediately is Yuna's theme from Final Fantasy X. Like I can instantly identify that if somebody were to just play it out and about. Versus like, what's Yoshi's theme? It's like I don't fucking know. He doesn't have one. Yoshi.
Like that, and that's the only way I can associate a song to Yoshi,
right?
But you're still playing as Mario,
right?
Because if you play one of the smaller games that is specific, like something on a DS or 3DS or whatever, that's just a Yoshi title, and you just have Yoshis, you're not going to hear that same song. So it's that's one of those weird nuanced things again.
And I guess that kind of brings up just like the differences between video games, because like I was saying before, like Mario himself doesn't have a theme, but Sonic characters have multiple character themes. Like Sonic himself, he has, not believe in myself, It Doesn't Matter, His World, and then everybody else in that cast has like 2 or 3 songs dedicated to themselves. And then you have the main themes of those games. So there's a lot of music to keep track of that is iconic. But it also just kind of there's quality in Mario. There's more quality than quantity in Mario, because like every theme in Mario is basically like the same 3 notes, but pitched up or pitched down and sped up or sped down.
Okay.
Because like the overworld theme is just the overworld theme, but the underground theme is just a toned down version of the overworld theme. And you can especially hear it in Mario 3.
Okay. I don't think I've ever paid attention to that before.
Yeah, go listen to the first like 3 levels themes in Mario 3 and tell me they aren't the same thing.
No, I'm kind of playing it in my head now, and I'm like, wow, you know what? Yeah. That is
Whereas like, you know, using the Sonic comparison, like every single level theme in Sonic is drastically different. Because you got the and then you go to the next game and you get something like Chemical Plant Zone, which is nowhere close to Green Hill Zone, right?
Right.
Like it's so different, but it has to be, right? Because you have to have something you have to have something outside of the visuals to distinguish the difference in levels in Sonic, because they all go so fast that you have to have something to remember them by. So iconic in a sense for video games depends on the situation.
Yeah, because even thinking about like, and I'm trying to think of like some other, like, first off, just other games. I mean, there's so many games that just have great music and iconic music, but I try to think of the ones that, like, you hear it, you know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I think the opening chant and the drums from Halo.
Mm-hmm.
And I could almost say that, like, when you are in a segment of the game where a lot of action is taking place and it's a big battle that's like you have 2 minutes to get in the Warthog to the, you know, escape the mission or whatever.
Yeah.
And you got to fight all these enemies and get to this other spot. Like, having that music play in the background, as I mentioned before, that will get you hyped for that spot in the game.
Right. And the same could be said for at Doom's Gate, like the Doom theme, right?
Yeah.
Like like as soon as you cut the game on and start that first level, you know exactly what you're in there about to do. You know what you need to do as soon as you hear those first chords. You are ready to kill some demons.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, and that would probably. Does that set up as Doom Guy's theme, or is that another one where it's an iconic, recognizable sound?
It's an iconic, recognizable sound that has been tied to the character, but that is not his theme because he doesn't have one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You know,
so
I'm
it's
curious.
definitely a Mario. It's a Mario theme where, like, he doesn't have a theme song, but you correlate that first song to the character because it just triggers something in your brain. Like, this is what I hear when I play Mario. This is what I hear when I play Doom. Like, this instantly pops in my head.
Let's see. So
I think, like, identifying a character theme is easier to do in non-interactive media than it is interactive media.
Yeah. And well, for one, a lot of times it is written out better. And it is more definitive because you only hear that theme in association to that character. Because the video games being interactive, you can move around and you go back and forth and you're in different places. You're more likely to crisscross certain areas, and therefore the music has to change and adapt accordingly. Because I can automatically think about, there's some games where it doesn't matter what character you're playing. Room A plays this song, room B plays that song.
Right.
And every time you switch rooms, it's going to switch songs.
Right.
So that would definitely be okay. Yeah. So that would be a difference there. So there's definitely, and see, and I think, like, even with when you talk about, like, I'm probably better with comparing video games to video games and just like video game soundtracks, original scores, things like that. Because even when you talk about, like, even though there are some video games that have character themes, a lot of cases it's going to be obvious why that character theme plays. Because I'm thinking of like Injustice doesn't have outro music. Like after you win a battle, you don't hear this song versus that song for a character. It depends on like levels, like what stage you're on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Same with Mortal Kombat. But Street Fighter, and that's probably just a great example, different characters do have different music that plays because that character is fighting.
Yeah.
Guile's being dun, 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 round one, like that's just immediately, that's Guile.
Right.
And
Rocky is a good one. Rocky is a good one.
Rocky is a very good one.
Yeah. Because even just like, ooh.
Because you can include the Rocky theme and Eye of the Tiger.
Right. I was like, man. See, Eye of the Tiger, like you could play that on. Actually, you know what? What was the one that was? Is it Hearts on Fire? Like the one that in Rocky 4 when he's trading in the snow. I think the song is Hearts on Fire. And it's like I don't know what station I would be listening to that would play, but if I heard that, I would immediately think of him being out in the snow with the big log, walking like this through the snow, trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like
right.
That would be one of those songs that would immediately take me back. Yeah, I think, like you said, interactive versus non-interactive media, you do have to like make that distinction and separation. So I think for this list, and Mario is kind of unique in that now that he's everywhere and on everything, now that we have a movie that qualifies. Nothing against Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, but that movie doesn't count now that we have this movie. But because we have this movie, it is, it's still kind of like, I don't know that overworld song still qualifies, but I don't know. We could go with Peaches. That seems to be pretty iconic right now. And we'll call that Peaches theme. That's probably going to end up being Bowser's theme. Ooh, I love this. That is definitely Back to the Future. See, okay, so I think that's another one that's like it's an iconic overall theme, but I don't think that's like Marty's theme. But given that we kind of view Marty in a majority of the time, well, no, because even when they were on the train and Doc was doing all the work, they still had it playing. So, yeah, because he got the hoverboard and so, but Marty was there too. So it's like technically, but yeah, I don't know that that's Marty's thing. That's definitely one where it's like, you hear that and let's see, you have Huey Lewis going back in time as like one of the originals. Okay, it's a team theme. I'll give you that. So it works for either Doc Brown or Marty McFly. But that is, it's one of those things when you hear that music, you know that something is going down and the action is taking place, and it's a big deal at that point because you're hearing the music play.
Right.
Okay. That was definitely a good one. You know what's funny? I was even sitting here trying to think, and I was like, how is it that horror movies don't really have? Because like I can't think of a song for Chucky. I can't even think of a song.
Halloween.
Ah, there we go. I'm like, there had to be one. Okay, yeah, that piano riff. Yeah. That would okay. Halloween, no question. You know what? Let me go back and look through the chat. I don't know that I saw. I will carry my weight. You were thinking it. I don't think you typed it at the moment, or you forgot to hit enter. But yeah, Halloween for sure. Halloween for sure. See, it's like funny because I'm even trying to think like what was. There was a weird repetitive thing from Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like this weird down. It's like a flat guitar. Anyway, it's been so long since I've watched a Nightmare on Elm Street, I wouldn't be able to recall. But if I heard it, I would know that that was Nightmare on Elm Street. But I don't know that that's like Freddy's theme. But I would definitely say that Halloween theme that feels like that would still be Mike Myers' theme. Actually, does that work for Austin Powers? Dun, dun, dun,
That
dun, dun,
so that is
dun, dun, dun.
that actually works because it is the main theme of the series, but that is also his theme song.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of works double on that one.
I got one. It's not unusual. Carlton Banks.
That is a character theme if I ever heard one.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Because you know what? And I promise you, even if that's hilarious, because like dun 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 dun, 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 like immediately you're
It's like you're gonna do the Carlton dance.
right, immediately. And even when they he says it's associated to a single action, but it's still the character's action. Ergo, I mean, granted, it's a dance, but everybody still refers to that dance as the Carlton.
Yeah.
So I don't know that. I would say yeah. I'm gonna say yeah. There's a follow to the show. It followed him out of the show. It followed him to Dancing with the Stars. It followed him at, let's see, as highs and lows.
When the episode where Carlton got suspended from school for threatening the dude from Princeton, and then he was like, he had his It's a Wonderful Life episode where he saw what the world would be like without him. And then Tom Jones comes in as his guardian angel, and they use that song they sing it twice. The first time it's like on some sad stuff and he's acting all weird. And then at the end, they sing it and it's happy.
There you go. There you go.
Highs and lows.
There you go. That is definitely Alfonso's thing. Definitely is. It counts. It qualified. How about that? Yeah, man. I think there's a lot of them that are out there, and it's just like, trying to pull them in at this exact moment, because there's so many different musicians, and it's kind of funny that John Williams gets credit for a lot of them, but even Danny Elfman, a lot of Danny Elfman stuff gets reused, and you'll hear his song in like a couple of different movies, because you know what? You are absolutely right. And you know why? Because It is called Axel's theme. That is 100. Yeah. Axel Foley. Yep. That is, that's a good one there. And that was, what was it? Howard Hewitt. That was Axel's theme. It's Axel F. Album cover. No, Harold Faltmeyer. That I like. I really wish I could like play that, and I would let that play in the back. That high synth. you know, very 80s, but also like now that is definitely iconic. During that time, that was, like, everybody knew what that was. That was automatically like, and even in the movies, you know what I'm saying? Like whenever he did something, he showed up. Uh, whenever like they're breaking in or somewhere or whatnot, and they kept seeing, and then they just show like the outside pan, and he like pops his head out and looks around. That's when the music starts, and you know it's about to go down. Then, damn, good call on that one. We're gonna put a star on that one because I almost would have missed that one. But you know what? I got to give a star for the. Oh, damn! It's not in the comments. That Carlton one was solid. That was a solid thing. Man, just you know what? Now, when we go into TV shows, there are a lot of like the A-Team, and when that plays, like when they show up to the random town and the people are being extorted, and they ask them for their help, and then they come and they pick on the A-Team who just want to eat at the diner and be left alone, and somebody like throws water on BA's shoes or some shit. You know what I'm saying? They have a reason now to fight. They go off for 10 minutes, MacGyver the hell out of something with some, regular farm tools. And then when the guys come back to collect their money and they decide that they're going to fight back, it's about to go down because you hear the A-Team theme playing when the bad guys show up, and they pull out of the barn with this, like, they'll take like a tractor and put missiles on that bit. And that's how that they're about to win.
The Lone Ranger and Magnificent Seven also have very iconic themes. I would say Magnificent Seven probably more for me, but that's just because our high school football team played that theme every time we scored a touchdown. So
I would say the Lone Rangers theme as a character theme, definitely, yeah, super iconic. Because that's been iconic for some years. And again, that's one that is literally like associated with him. So that's definitely a good pick. Hell, I gotta like start looking over at movies to see what are the gotta look at my movie collection to see what else we can come up with, because now there's a lot of movies with like great soundtracks, obviously.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that comes to mind is, and I was trying to think earlier because I was like, okay, with Randy Newman and Toy Story, you know what I'm saying? Like I was thinking, like, does Buzz have a theme? Does Woody have a theme? And it's like I couldn't think of anything for them. Of course, You Got a Friend in Me is just iconic for the movie itself, but it's not really associated to anybody specific. And so I started trying to like think through some of the different movies, and again, I was just like I was kind of at a loss.
But I think it's one of those things too, where like they definitely have started shifting away from those like iconic character themes in favor of the soundtrack song. I think like when you look at something like Mandalorian, that's like, I consider that to be an anomaly. And also I consider that to be done because it is paying homage even through the score to spaghetti westerns and them having like those kind of individual themes for the characters. But I think, the soundtrack kind of took over. And so now, and not even the soundtrack, but like, even just directors wanting to like show how cool their taste in music is. So it's like let's have this movie scored with like all my favorite like random 90s songs, or you have something like a Scott Pilgrim where it's like most of those songs are not like original to the actual character, but like the songs you hear playing in the background, it's like those are just songs that already exist and are compiled into like a soundtrack to give the character kind of a personality. And so
Right.
now it's kind of like rather than building like that relationship with the audience through score, they build that relationship with the audience through like the character's internal playlist that you're also like listening to as the score of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I think period pieces or movies that are set in a specific time, like this movie takes place in the 90s, and it's like all the
Mhm.
music you're going to hear is going to be like a 90s greatest hits playlist. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And they're just going to find like, oh, what were the top songs in the 90s? Let's grab those and find times to put them in. And sometimes they work out and they will fit the scene, they'll fit the narrative at that time. But yeah, even when I think about those kind of movies, I don't know that, like, because I'm like, okay, you have an old school song like Pretty Woman, but I wouldn't call that Vivian's theme. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um, but it's like when you hear the song Pretty Woman, for a lot of people, they're gonna, associate that with the movie. Um, Now, what's crazy is, and this is also Julia Roberts. Um, Say a Little Prayer for You is from My Best Friend's Wedding. And anytime I hear that, that's the song that, like, I think it's Rupert Everett is getting ready to marry Cameron Diaz, and they're having like the rehearsal breakfast or rehearsal lunch or something like that. And they start singing, and it ends up being like this whole big thing that, the actors and actresses themselves were the ones that were singing. Um, and it just makes for a good piece of cinema because they're singing. But yeah, I would probably associate that song more with her character from that than I would Pretty Woman with Julia Roberts and Pretty Woman. So yeah, oh well, there you go. Pink Panther. That is definitely. I mean, and again, like anything that says such and such theme, the Pink Panther theme is obviously iconic for the Pink Panther. Um, and as a TV show, it works. Now I'm trying to think, like, no, because I even had that in the movie. They did have it in the movie, but it was in the credits for like the opening credits for the movie. They kind of played it there. Um, yeah. Jaws actually gets recognition as being John Williams' most iconic score. And they say that theme is arguably the most recognizable piece of music in movie history. I think that is pretty crazy. And just going off this list that they have here, um, this is 10 iconic movie scores that are instantly recognizable. They have Harry Potter listed, and again, with like so many movies, uh, there you go. With so many movies, I think that's an easy one. But again, it's not necessarily a character theme per se. It's definitely one of the top ones. Um, but again, John Williams, um, Titanic. Um, My Heart Will Go On is probably the only one, but I don't know any of the other songs in that movie. Um, the Good, the Bad, the Ugly makes the list, and there you go. That was one Jeff called. Star Wars, again, John Williams. We were all in agreement on that. Um, The Imperial March screams villainy, intimidating authority, and impending doom. Yeah, there's no question. John Williams is that dude when it comes to like movie scores. I'm curious though, because it would be like probably John Williams. Would it be Hans Zimmer over Danny Elfman, or does Danny Elfman have more credit? But see, again, I feel like a lot of Danny Elfman stuff gets reused. I would have to look into that a little bit more. But then they have Lion King listed.
Yeah, but I don't feel like there's a character. I don't feel like there's like because I was thinking about a lot of Disney movies too, and I feel like those have soundtracks, but there's no like reprisal to like Just Can't Wait to Be King. You know what I mean? When they do the movie, like when Simba comes back, they don't redo Just Can't Wait to Be King. They don't do Hakuna Matata. It's just them fighting. So every song is like unique. The only song that they redo is Circle of Life at the end, but I don't really tie that to a specific character. I tie that to just the entire film. I see that the same way I see the like Star Wars theme. It's like it's at the beginning,
Right.
it's at the end. That's that.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same thing. And like this list is just talking about the just iconic music, and so I was just trying to make sure that we, of course, hit all of these and seeing if any of these would, be something we might have missed. They do have Indiana Jones and James Bond as spots 1 and 2. They listed Psycho, but I'm like, I can't think of a single song from Psycho, so I don't know. What you think of when you think of Psycho? That weird string. Is that even music? That's just like when cartoons used to use orchestras to animate the scene and make the sound of what's happening. When he's like going to stab and doing this little bit, it just matches up to the stabbing action. So the stabbing action of the movie Psycho is one. But yeah, Jaws is one that is definitely a theme, because anytime the shark shows up, that's where we get it. Gonna Fly Now is so those are two different songs technically. Gonna Fly Now is, let me see, how did they have that listed?
That's the Rocky song.
Right. I mean, I know it's a Rocky song, but it's like it says also used in the song Gonna Fly Now. So it's like I thought Gonna Fly Now was the song. So they have two different versions. And that'll just be one of those things that like I'll just look up later because I'm curious. So I'm gonna just like pull that off to the side. And because I feel like that should just be also known as a theme for rock. Okay, so they probably just had a typo in this because I don't know. Tiana song, Princess and the Frog.
Don't remember it.
Yeah. No, I mean, if there was in the Disney movies, a lot of the characters, especially like the princesses, they all have that one like iconic moment where they sing a beautiful song that kind of tells the story, tells you their thoughts, their beliefs. But I don't necessarily think that it fits in as it being their theme, as it doesn't play again when they reappear on screen. Usually it's just like them kind of narrating what's happening around them, sort of thing. That's what that is. Yeah. So I think we covered a good bit tonight, and character themes was kind of the focus this time. So we've covered a good bit of stuff. I've actually come up with a few things that we might be able to discuss moving forward, just for some some topics for music, and I'll share that with you guys again. So we have a month till we have to worry about a fourth music show. So we have plenty of time. What we do need to do is we need to get together and figure out what movie. You know what? I think we're just going to make Denisha recap all of the bad movies that she has missed next episode. And so we'll just let her go in and go ham, and we get to relive all of those bad "why did I watch that" movies. She got a few to catch up on, so I'm gonna be on her to get on top of those. But yeah, that is I think we covered everything. And once again, we had such a great topic and conversation. I want to thank our guest, Will Parker, coming and hanging out with us tonight. Miss you, buddy. It's great to have you on the show, and all that wonderful insight help us get our list of 10. Just a song sung in highs and lows and sung more than once throughout the movie, if I remember correctly. I'm going to look into this. I mean, it's a hell of a concept, because when you think about a character theme, it's different when you have character themes versus when you have like the movie score, and those two being different, because usually it will be when that person shows up, that's when you hear that music, or you know that person has to be nearby because you heard that music. So yeah, I would definitely say look into it. This is our music special. We enjoy doing this. Typically, our fourth Wednesday is our music special. So next episode, stay tuned and just see what next episode is going to be, because who knows, we may change some things up. But we expect to have some other guests next week, and we're going to be back next week. Gentlemen, anything else you want to say before we get out of here tonight?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. Good. Well, appreciate everybody tuning in. I do have just one last little tidbit of news. I'm going to put up when I've gone through now to do the editing for this, I will be editing out all breaks, all pauses, all quiet takes, so that it runs through a lot smoother for your listening pleasure. And I will be uploading this video separately from the live, so you will get the notification that it is out and about. And I did recognize that doing that last week actually increased viewership. So you can look for that, and that will be a nifty little thing. So you can start seeing these separate. So even if you miss the live, you can still be a part of the show. But that is our show for tonight. We have been Grown A Geeks. This was Weigh In Wednesday. Don't forget to click that QR code there in the corner right there by David. That'll take you to everywhere you can find us on all the socials that we are on. For David, Jeffrey, and myself, we are out of here. Peace.